Hello and welcome to the Tough Girl podcast, which is all about motivating and inspiring you. I'm your host, Sarah Williams. The Tough Girl podcast is sponsorship and ad-free thanks to the monthly financial support of patrons. To find out more about supporting the Tough Girl podcast, please visit Patreon, patreon.com/Tough Girl podcast, and help me to increase the amount of female role models in the media. All patrons will get their name on a dedicated patrons page on the Tough Girl website. All female patrons, $5 and above, are invited to join the closed Facebook group, the Tough Girl Tribe. Today, I'm delighted we're going to be speaking to Zahrah Mahmood. Zahrah is passionate about getting people outdoors, and she shares her walks on Instagram, where she's known as the Hillwalking Hijabi.
My name is Zahrah Mahmood. I'm known as the Hillwalking Hijabi on Instagram. During the week, I work as a chartered accountant in the public sector in Scotland, and on weekends, I like to get outside. Evenings and weekends, I like to get outside as much as possible, especially with hill walking or walking in general, to be honest.
Have you come from like quite a sporty family? Have you always been going out into the hills and into walking?
Oh, not at all. I only discovered it, believe it or not, about 4 or 5 years ago. I was actually studying for my professional exams and I was finding them so difficult. And two of the girls that I was studying with, Pamela and Fiona, they thought I would benefit from getting outside, out in the mountains and hills, and just kind of clearing my head, and hopefully that would kind of almost reset me mentally and physically. So that's when I initially got introduced to it. So that was a wee while ago now. And it actually worked in terms of giving me that confidence to pass my exams. But it didn't work in terms of getting me hooked straight away, because they started off with a Monroe, which was not great for someone who's never done hill walking or any kind of physical exercise before that anyway. So that was a shock to the system, to say the least.
Oh my God, tell us a little bit more about your first experience going into the hills.
I think I was totally naive to it. So first, initially, when they mentioned hill walking or going up a mountain, I honestly thought they meant like actual climbing up with a harness and everything. I thought, oh no, that's too scary, that's not for me. And then when they explained it, no, you're just walking up, I thought, okay, yeah, that sounds doable. I can walk up. I'm sure that'll be fine. Totally naive to the fact that they'd suggested Ben Lomond, which is obviously a Monroe in Scotland. So I started off, and I'd heard a few people doing Ben Lomond before, so I thought it was genuinely doable for someone who's never been up a mountain and never done any exercise before. So I struggled that day. I had no breakfast. I was in the right gear because they had taken me out beforehand and got me the right gear and stuff. So I was like equipped with the right boots and stuff, but I hadn't mentally prepared myself for how difficult it was going to be physically in terms of no breakfast, and I had the worst snacks ever. That was probably more likely to make you sick as well. So yeah, it was horrendous. I was just kind of aware the whole time up that I was not only slowing them down, but I was also on the receiving end of people just staring at me. And I don't know if that was because of the way that I looked or if it was because of my fitness. It was probably a mixture of both. So yeah, that was the whole way up. It was just kind of like stop start, me threatening to go back to the car, and my friends trying to bribe me and trying to bully me almost to get to the top in a friendly way. So yeah, I basically had to be led up that mountain.
What was it like when you got to the top?
Oh, it was amazing. And I have to say, like, I didn't take any pictures throughout this whole walk because I was honestly, like, I was just so like struggling so much that I didn't even think to take any pictures. And at the top, I think I've got two pictures from this walk. I think a couple of pictures from this walk, and one of them is just this look of absolute glee on my face. And anyone looking at that, you would think, oh, she's absolutely enjoyed that hill walk, she's loving it at the top. But actually it was just sheer relief that I'd made it, because honestly didn't think they were going to let me turn back or stop. They weren't going to let me give up. They wanted me to get to the top. So it was utter relief at the top. And when I look back at that picture, I just think, oh my God, that was such a good day on Ben Lomond. And I've been back and done Ben Lomond a couple of times since then, and I've never got such a good day or a view. And I just kind of look at that picture and think I didn't even appreciate that view at that time. So I think if you look at that picture, you'd think I was enjoying it a lot more than I did. But it was just relief at the top.
What made you want to go back and do more hill walking? So what did you get out of that first walk that you thought, yeah, do you know what? I want to do this again?
So I think out of that first walk, initially so I didn't go back for about 6 months to a year after that because I just didn't think it was for me. Not only was there not people that looked like me, but there was also just like my fitness, and I had just held them back. They had told me it was going to take like half a day at the most, and I ended up taking the majority of the day to get to the top. So I just didn't think it was for me. But I do remember feeling that whole time that I was walking, which is part of that struggle, is that I wasn't thinking about anything else other than just getting to the top and using my feet to take one step at a time and getting to the top. And it was about 6 months to a year later, I was going through a difficult time in my life again. And it was again the same friends, Pamela and Fiona. They said, right, let's go outside. Let's go up another hill and do something, it'll hopefully help. So I had agreed to it, but I said, obviously, no Monroe's, because during that 6 months to a year, I had been doing other things like the kilt walk, and I'd joined a gym just to try and get my fitness up. So yeah, I had said no Monroe's. So they took me up a smaller hill, and I want to say it was Conic Hill, but I can't remember exactly which one it was. But I just enjoyed it so much. It was just that way that, that whole time that I was trying to get up to the top of the summit there, I wasn't thinking about anything else. I was just concentrating on one foot in front of the other, just, enjoying the views, taking it all in, and just enjoying being away from almost like the city, the busy parts of life, mentally and physically, and the fact that you have no reception. It just felt like you were in this kind of cocoon almost.
Yeah, your friends sound amazing.
Yeah.
Getting up the hill. You talked about gear initially, that they took you out shopping to get the gear. Tell us a little bit more about how your gear has changed. What sort of stuff are you using?
So at that point, I had bought they said, okay, well, you don't know if you're going to do this every weekend or whatever, so don't invest too much. So they took me to Decathlon, and they kind of had recommended a few things. They said just get cheap kind of hiking boots that'll do you for a few walks, and get a base layer, some kind of waterproof if you need it, although it was summer so I didn't really need it, so a jacket and a wee hiking bag, so kind of like a really small kind of one, like a half day one. So that was it, what I had initially, and I think I'm glad I made that decision, because obviously I didn't go again for about 6 months to a year, so it was the right decision at that time. But since then I have definitely spent a good chunk of money trying to invest in more kind of kit, because obviously I am doing it more regularly. So those kind of boots, I think I still have those boots. I think I passed them down to my niece, but I have kind of more sturdier boots, Scarpa, I think they are. I have like a proper, really good kind of quality waterproof jacket. I even have poles now, walking poles. And it's just like all sorts. Now, it used to be that I at that time I would probably go and spend most of my money on kind of just either work clothes or kind of going out clothes. But now most of my money goes on to hill walking gear.
Were there many other of your friends who were into hill walking and, doing this at the weekend, this hobby? So obviously you've got Pamela and Fiona, which sounds awesome. But were you connecting with anybody else going out? Did you go out by yourself? Did you join any walking groups?
No, I didn't. So some of my friends were kind of interested in getting fit, but not specifically going out or up hills to do that. So maybe other mediums like the gym and things like that. But no, so what I did was I signed up for the kilt walk. Again, that was with Pamela. We did that I think it's almost 26 miles through Glasgow to raise money for charity. So we did that. But other than that, no, there was no other kind of influence in my life for hill walking at that point.
How has your confidence developed, in terms of building up the skills that you need? Is that just something that's very gradual, that is being done very gradually, or is it something that you're very aware on, that you're focusing on when you go out, whether that's map reading or doing different types of walks?
Mm-hmm. So I think initially my confidence probably grew more because I realised obviously I'd bitten off more than I can chew by trying to do a Monroe when my fitness wasn't great, and obviously I'd never been hill walking, because even if you're used to walking up a hill is a completely different story to walking flat. So I think I realised that I needed to kind of strip it back. If this is something that I wanted to enjoy and I was benefiting from, then I really needed to kind of strip it back. So starting off, when I got into it again about 6 months later, I started looking at kind of smaller hills. Corbett's as well. Then I kind of built myself up to Corbett's, and then I kind of only in the last year have I really done a lot of Monroes. And before that, I was doing smaller hills and Corbett's, and I think that's what helped build up most of my confidence, just being outside and having that confidence that, you know, I'm even going to get to the summit and I'm not going to turn back and I'm not going to kind of complain the whole way. So initially, I think that kind of just helped my confidence just in terms of being outside and feeling like I belonged out there. And then from then, now I've been trying to do more kind of varied walks, not just Monroes, but like longer distance ones. So I've done that 17 kind of mile one in Glenfinglas. I've done ones in like kind of, like snowy kind of weather where the snow's up to your knees. Map reading and navigation is definitely something that I'm aware of that I'm not very good at, because I do rely on either my phone or a printed out kind of instructions or directions. So that is something that I definitely want to do, because I think obviously you can't rely on that. You need to have that knowledge yourself. So there are certain areas where I think I still obviously need to develop. But in terms of just initially for me, because I didn't grow up with this, because I came into it late in life, just even feeling like this is, you know, something that is for me and somewhere where I belong, was just trying to build that up slowly.
Yeah. How accessible have you found the hiking? How welcoming has the hiking community been to you?
So I think there's probably two ways to answer that. So one is probably online, which is through my Instagram, that I kind of share my journey with people. Online, I've never really had any issues. You do get the odd comment here and there in your direct messages, just because you wear a headscarf, people think that, even it's not even in that hill walking community, it's just in general, you're kind of used to getting those messages. But in general, the reception's been great. People have been so welcoming, encouraging, supportive, especially the women, I feel, have been a lot more as well. Some men too, but mostly women. And then outdoors. So outdoors, I would say I've never had any, incidents where, there's racism or Islamophobia or anything, but I do get a lot of stares, and that kind of doesn't stop, I don't think. And it's because most of the time, I would say 99% of the time when I've been outdoors in the hills, I don't see anyone else that looks like me. So I think out of all the hill walks that I've done over the last 4 or 5 years, I've probably in that time saw two women, different times, two women that wear a hijab that are outdoors. And in that time, even without the hijab, an Asian woman, South Asian woman, I've probably seen maybe a handful of times. So that's over 4 years. And these are popular walks that I've done as well. So probably the ones that are more accessible to people that are not used to going outdoors. So I would say, there's two ways to look at that. Like online, people are great, they're encouraging, but in the outdoors, there are a lot of stares. There is a lot of kind of assumptions made. So if you do kind of stop, if you're stopping for a break, are you stopping for a wee snack? Sometimes you get talking to people, which is great, and I love speaking to new people and stuff. So, when they start speaking to you, you can tell there's an inherent kind of stereotype there that they're making, because sometimes I've had the question, even while being kitted out in all the gear that kind of we spoke about, you get that kind of question, or I've had that kind of question where, oh, is this your first walk? And I'll be like, and I'll try and turn it on its head, or kind of make them realize why are they saying that, because they'll say, oh, first time doing this one, but not first time hill walking, and I'll kind of just kind of leave it like that. And I think then people realize that stereotype that they've made, because you wouldn't, let's be honest, you wouldn't make that, or they wouldn't make that stereotype to anybody else really that they've just met. They're just making that because it's the first time they've seen someone maybe that looks like me outdoors. So there's more kind of those, what you would call microaggressions or stereotypical behaviour, stares that you get that can sometimes make you feel uncomfortable. I've not let it put me off yet, but it can be sometimes uncomfortable to experience, and sometimes you just kind of want to get up the hill. You don't want to have to deal with that.
Tell me more about starting your Instagram page and why you wanted to share more about your passion.
So I found that actually before I had this Instagram page, I had one just that was my name, and I was just kind of sharing, the typical day-to-day life, which I enjoyed as well. But I found that as I was getting more into hill walking, most of my pictures were turning into me out in the hills. And I thought, and then I started connecting more with people that, were like-minded and we're going out in the hills just as well, that you can support them and they can cheer you on, but also you get ideas of what walks to do from what they're doing as well. So I found that I was kind of having this kind of natural gravitating towards more of the hill walking side of things. So um I then decided, I kept that page, but I decided to make a kind of hill walking page. One of my sisters actually said to me when I was kind of coming back from one of my walks and I was just talking and she was asking a bit more about it, and I said, it's a bit of a shame. I think I was trying to convince them to come out with me, my sisters, and I was saying it's a bit of a shame that I don't see anyone that kind of looks like me. You should really come. And she said, she kind of made the comment, oh, you're the Hillwalking Hijabi, and that's kind of when it stuck. And she said, you should share that and show that. Maybe you will, give people more encouragement, or show them that it can be done. And at that point, I wasn't thinking about the latter. I was just thinking, oh, that's a cool name. That's what I'll call myself. So I made that kind of Instagram with that name, and it kind of just went from there. But it is like I say, like a few people have commented on that, and I do say that it is a shame that in 2020 the in front of my name is not kind of challenged, because there should be a lot more. I shouldn't be the Hillwalking Hijabi. I should just be one of, so that's the point. That's the bit that kind of my name that I wish, was not different in terms of my name, but different in terms of there was a lot more people that, Muslim women that felt like they could get outdoors for whatever reason.
Yeah. But I think, doing what you're doing and sharing your Instagram posts and sharing what you're doing, because you've also started a blog as well, is a great way to hopefully encourage more Muslim women to get out there and get walking. Tell us more about some of the walks that you've done. Like, which have been the most challenging? Which ones have you got on do you have a goal list for certain walks that you want to do? How are you sort of deciding which walks to go on?
If I'm completely honest, I'm deciding on the weather in Scotland, so it totally depends on that. In terms of goals or lists, I mean, I would love to complete all the Munros at some point, but I'm not putting that pressure on myself, because I know that I'm the type of person that if I put that pressure on myself, I'll either kind of crumble in terms of I'll be putting even more pressure on the time frame. So I'm not putting a time frame on that. I'm just thinking, that's a nice goal to have at the back of my head. In terms of hard walks, the obvious answer would be Ben Nevis, because I did do that in September last year. But it wasn't actually that hard. It was long, but it wasn't actually that hard compared to some of the other ones. I would still say that my first one was the hardest walk I've ever done. That was obviously because of my fitness levels at that point. But there have been other ones, like, for example, I remember the first Munro I did after Ben Lomond was, and I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong, it was Ben Chauncey. And I remember struggling that way up, and I honestly thought at that point it was because of the fact that it was a Munro, and I thought, oh, this is just going to be the struggle for every Munro. But it was actually because I was suffering from cramps that day. So, it just shows you should listen to your body, because I genuinely didn't feel great that day, and I wasn't that thrilled to be getting out, but I kind of wanted to go and complete a Munro. So there's ones that I've struggled with just because of how you're feeling that day. But in terms of hard walks, I would say Glenfinglas, which isn't actually all that high, but it is like 17 miles. I've done that 3 times now, and each time I think it's going to be easier, and it's not. It's totally hard, because it's like up and down. So it's not like a mountain. It's almost like that the hard slog is all the way up and then you're coming down, so it'll be easier. Whereas this was constantly kind of up and down. So it's kind of more challenging, especially over the longer distance. So yeah, I would probably say that was probably one of my hardest ones.
When it does get hard out there in the hills, how do you keep going? What are the tips and tricks that you use to keep you motivated, to keep you moving forward?
So normally I kind of tell myself, you're closer to the top now than you are the bottom, because that's when it starts to get hard, is when you're kind of know that the end is in sight, but you can't actually see the summit yet. So at that point, I tell myself, right, okay, you're closer to the top than you are to the bottom, to the car park. So you might as well just keep going, and you'll get there soon. I take a break. I take 5 minutes, just to sit, take in the scenery, because I think that's really important as well. Just to take that time to reflect as well. Why am I doing this? Because I think we all hill workers will ask themselves that question, whether it's when their alarm rings at 6 a.m. or on their day off, or whether it's when they're kind of trudging up in rubbish weather or when they're struggling. So sometimes just taking that 5 minutes to take a deep breath, take some snacks, take some jelly beans, take some water, and then, you're almost kind of like refueled and both in mind and body to kind of continue.
Yeah. You said when we were starting, the first time you went out for, the first walk that you did, that you took the wrong snacks.
Yeah.
What are the snacks that you've figured out are your go-to snacks while you're out hill walking?
So I don't think chocolate agrees with me. I've got IBS, so there's certain things that can trigger, reactions within me. So I don't think, like, mostly because I've actually been sick outside as well once before, when you're going up, and I'm suffering from symptoms. So I find chocolate doesn't work for me. Neither does a flask of tea or coffee. So I try to stay away from anything kind of too acidic. Jelly beans are great. I love crisps, so crisps are great as well. Anything kind of like baked, like granola bars, or homemade ones, and sandwiches. So that, when you're talking about the wrong snacks, that was basically, I took up a kebab sandwich, homemade kebabs, typical Asian food, and that was really bad, because that, on an empty stomach when I've not had breakfast, was not good for you because it's quite spicy. So I just felt even more kind of bloated after that. So yeah, so I stick to kind of lighter ones, fruit, kind of jelly beans, crisps, and then sandwiches that are kind of plain. I mean, it doesn't sound great, but it does the job. It fuels you.
How do you think hill walking has impacted on other areas of your life, whether that is in terms of confidence or self-belief?
So the first time, even just taking the first time that I went out, even though that was a struggle, the fact that I reached the top, that was, I firmly believe that was one of the reasons that helped me kind of pass that exam, because I thought, well, if I can do that, and I struggled the whole way up, so if I can do that, I can pass an exam. And I might struggle while I'm trying to, study and all the rest of it, and pass kind of mock exams that come before it. But I know that I can get there and I can do that, and I did go on to pass all my exams first time for that as well. So that's just the prime example. And then the second time, when I initially went out after about 6 months to a year, I was actually going through a separation, a divorce, and it was just getting all a bit too much. Everything was getting on top of me, and I had such supportive family and friends, but nothing seemed to work until I started getting back out there and just taking that time to reflect and regroup for myself, and just focusing on, your own well-being, whether it be mental or physical or spiritual.
And you did take on Ben Nevis, Scotland's
Yeah.
tallest peak. Tell us more about that challenge and what it was like getting out there.
Totally. So it was actually a total, like, it wasn't planned. If you had told me at the beginning of last year that I was going to do Ben Nevis, I would have laughed, because I didn't think I was ready for Ben Nevis, as silly as that sounds. But it came out of the fact that I'd actually signed up for the Rob Roy Mighty Hike, which I'm not sure if you're aware of, but it's for Macmillan Cancer. And you're basically hiking through the Rob Roy Way, part of the Rob Roy Way, which is about 26 miles through, like, kind of hills and streets, to raise money for Macmillan Cancer. So I'd signed up for that, and I was all geared up for that, all my training, kind of walking and all the rest of it that I was doing. And that's why I went back and did Glenfinglas again for the third time, because that was kind of similar to what I would be doing on the day. But unfortunately, typical Scottish weather, the week of the Rob Roy Mighty Hike, it rained downpour, like actual downpour, like it was really bad, to the point that the route was flooded in areas. So tents and, marquees that were set up for the walkers couldn't be set up safely. So they couldn't, and also some kind of transport and stuff if needed, worst case scenario, to help someone that maybe gotten unwell, they couldn't go in safely in or out. So they couldn't guarantee our safety. So I totally understand why they had to cancel it, but it did get cancelled. And I felt terrible, not just because I'd been training for it, because you know how difficult it is once you train mentally as well as physically for something and then it doesn't happen. It's a total letdown. It just feels like you've been, everything in your kind of energy, your power has been going towards this one thing, and then it's taken away from you, out with your control, out with anybody else's control. So I felt terrible for that reason, but I also felt terrible because I'd reached my goal, I'd raised all this money, and then I wasn't going to do anything. And I didn't think that was right either. And a lot of people went on and actually did Glenfinglas. I noticed online that a lot of people that had signed up for it went and did Glenfinglas. But I just thought, because that one, even though that was similar to the Rob Roy Mighty Hike, I just thought, I've done that as a training walk and I've done it twice before, so it doesn't really have that kind of wow factor. So I wanted something that I thought I could justify for the donations and justify all my training for as well. So I then started speaking to a few friends and asked for ideas, and they said, why don't you do Ben Nevis? And I thought, no, that sounds horrendous. But like, I'm ready for that. And they were saying, why not? You know, you've done all these other Munros. Ben Nevis is just a Munro at the end of the day. Yes, it's the highest one, but it's actually got a path the whole way up. So in some respects, it might be, quotation marks, easier than other Munros. So just, you can do it, and kind of tried to will me on. So yeah, that's how it came about. I was totally, it wasn't even, I didn't even have a date in mind. I told people, I think I maybe mentioned to a few people, I don't even think I might put it on my Instagram as this is what I'm doing until like a few days before, but I was literally weather watching. It was September and I was literally weather watching, when is a good day going to come? And luckily we got a good day, and it was a few good days leading up to it, so you knew that there was going to be no water or, you know, bog factor there, which it turned out it was a whole kind of stony, bouldery path the whole way up anyway, so it was fine. Yeah, that's how it happened, and I just kind of woke up like 2 days before and I thought, right, this is the day that I'm doing it, and that was it. Packed my bag, went up, did it, I managed to do it. I was on a total high afterwards. I thought, I can't believe I've just done that. Obviously, typical, I got like views from one side of Ben Nevis for like about 5 seconds before the clouds came in. So I didn't get much of a view, but it was just amazing being up there. It was totally unexpected, I think, which is why it felt even more special.
Did you go with any other people, or did you head off by yourself?
So I went with one of my friends, and we had signed up for the Mighty Hike together. So we then decided to do the Ben Nevis together.
You mentioned that you were doing some training for your hiking, and you'd obviously mentioned, you know, previously early on that you weren't doing any exercise, any fitness, and that you'd, you know, eventually when you did get into hill walking, you started, you know, going to the gym. What other exercises have you been doing? Are you still going to the gym? Is it just a case of going out walking, or do you like commute to work, like walking, or ride a bike or anything else like that?
So I try to do as much walking as I can, because I just think I enjoy it a lot more. I think if you're trying to get fit or trying to do exercise, it's great if you enjoy things like the gym or enjoy things like, you know, actual workouts or weights. And don't get me wrong, I do enjoy that sometimes, but I can't do that as my daily kind of fitness or exercise, because I would just kind of get fed up of that. And what I do really enjoy is walking. So especially in lockdown, so I've been taking advantage of initially when we went into lockdown, taking advantage of the one time a day exercise by going out and doing like about maybe 5k or 5 miles of walking / jogging. And I recently as well got a bike, so I've been trying to go out on that a lot more and build up my confidence on that, especially on roads. Other than hill walking, yeah, it's mostly walking. I do enjoy going to the gym every now and again, and I do enjoy like a workout with weights, but it's not something that I would go to every day. And swimming as well, occasionally I kind of going swimming, because that kind of really works out every muscle in your body, doesn't it? And you end up feeling so sore everywhere, and muscles you never knew you had. So yeah, I tried to keep it varied, but right now obviously we are kind of limited just in the situation that we're in. So luckily I've got quite a few parks near me, so I've just kind of been doing as much walking / jogging / cycling as I can.
So Zara, I want to mix things up a little bit now. I want to ask you some quick fire questions. Are you ready?
Yep, go for it.
Are you a morning or evening type of person?
Morning.
What time do you wake up?
So it depends. If I'm working, I'll wake up between 7:30 and 8:30 just now, because I'm working from home. On the weekends, probably about 9.
Probably at night. What time do you go to bed?
Oh, it can be bad sometimes. Normally around about 11 to 12.
Do you have a morning routine that you like to follow?
During the working week, I like to get up, have a shower, kind of change my clothes, log on into work and then do work for about an hour before I eat breakfast, because I'm the type of person that can't eat breakfast as soon as they wake up. So that's kind of my routine in the morning when I'm working. And on the weekend, it just kind of depends what I've got on. But yeah, it's varied. For example, today I got up, I kind of went out shopping, did the food shop, and then came home and had breakfast and watched a film. So it just depends what you've got on.
Yeah. What do you drink, tea or coffee?
Tea.
What do you have a favourite movie?
I wouldn't say I have a favourite movie.
Or do you like binge watch Netflix or Amazon Prime or anything?
Yeah, I like to binge watch. I just recently watched Little Fires Everywhere on Amazon Prime, which was really good.
What about a book? Do you have a favourite book that you've read or listened to on audio that's inspired you or encouraged you, or that you sort of would reread again and again?
Do you know what I really like? I think it's because it's a dystopian novel, but I really like Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale, and I read that before it came out on Amazon, and then I reread it again, which I've never really done with a book. So I reread it again, and then when the Testaments came out, I went and got that and read it straight away as well. So I've really enjoyed that, and I don't know if it's because it's set as if it would never happen, but actually parts of the book actually do happen in this world. So it's kind of almost that being incredulous while you read it, because you do recognize some of these things that happen in the world.
Yeah. Have you seen the TV show as well?
I've seen the first series, but then the first series kind of finished where the first book finished off. So I've kind of thought, well, where are they going to go with the second series? So I haven't really bothered with the second series, but I do kind of want to watch it, because I think I recently got told that the series were kind of done in conjunction with Margaret Atwood, so she was kind of aware of where the storyline was going. So it almost makes you feel like if she had written more books on this, then she would have kind of approved of it. So I feel like that's okay then. So I will watch the rest of the series at some point.
Yeah, I actually, do you know what? It's one of those things. Like, I know I should probably watch it and read the book, but it's exactly like you said. I think it just hits too close to home for me. Yeah. It's like I actually can't. I can't deal with that, with everything else that's going on in the world.
I know what you mean, because sometimes I see it as a bit of escapism, like these kind of programs, but sometimes it is a bit like, it just depends on your mood, doesn't it? You really need to be in the right frame of mind to watch or read these kind of things.
Absolutely. What about music? Do you listen to a certain type, a certain genre? Do you have a favourite song, a favourite album?
Do you know, I don't listen to an awful lot of music. Have it on in the background, or I have the radio on in the background when I'm working. But I really like the kind of more old school songs. So, and a lot of R&B I like as well. So it's probably, and some pop. So it's more kind of things that were maybe hits, songs that were maybe hits when I was in school. And I don't know if it's that kind of nostalgia or reminiscing, but I really enjoy those kind of songs. I love the Black Eyed Peas. Where Is the Love? That's one song that I'll always listen to when I'm feeling down.
Now, this one I think I know the answer to, but you never know. Are you more of a beach person or mountain person?
Oh, mountain. Definitely. I'm surprised you had to ask.
Sometimes it's always embarrassing to ask the question, because I'm thinking I know what the answer is, but sometimes you never know.
Yeah. No, I do like the beach, but I would definitely rather be up a mountain.
What about food? What's your favourite type of food to eat while you're at home, and what's the favourite type of food that you like to eat in the hills? Okay,
so in the house, definitely I love my rice. I love kind of any rice, South Asian type, Pakistani type of rice. So it can be maybe chicken, lamb, or vegetables, whatever. I love my rice. In the hills, food. I actually really like and this is going to make me sound really weird, but I really like a tuna sandwich on the hills. And I think it's because I quite like tuna, but it's also quite comforting. I find it quite a comforting food, and it's quite filling as well, so it's got protein. So yeah, that probably makes me sound really bizarre when you compare like spicy rice to tuna, but yeah.
Yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with tuna. Like sometimes I'm like, yes, I absolutely love it, and then other times I've got to really like psychologically psych myself up to eat it, like, because when I think about it too much, and I know what you mean. I think that happens with most fish though, don't you? Or any kind of meat. If you think about it too much, if you're not like a vegetarian or a vegan, you can't really think about it too much. But yeah, no, I totally understand that. Especially when it comes from the tin. What do you do for rest and relaxation?
So I love like I said, well, watching TV, especially when it's kind of mind numbing almost. It's kind of like easy watching. That kind of just distresses me. Walking, obviously, it doesn't even need to be a long walk. Just even 10 minutes outside, walking around the corner, around to the local park. That's great. I love my baths. I love candles and all that kind of stuff. So that'll help as well. And then sometimes it's just talking with someone, having a catch up with a friend or a family member.
What are the words that you try and live your life by?
I have so many, but I'll try and choose one. I think probably the one that's most important for me is treat others how you want to be treated in life. Just because a lot of the time, if you've maybe gone through something or you're going through something and someone just even looks at you wrong, that can kind of upset you or change your whole mood. And I just think that, if that person didn't know what I was going through, then I don't know what the next person's going through. So I just think that's really important, especially in this day and age.
And Zahrah, where's the best place for people to find out more information about you and to follow along with all of your journeys?
Probably Instagram. So I'm on Instagram as _Hillwalking_Hijabi, and that's probably where I do most of my posting. I do have a blog. I think I created it like a while ago, like as in when I created my Instagram, but I think I've only ever posted the one blog post, so that's probably not the best place to go. But Instagram, yeah, Instagram probably is.
Zahrah, I'd love for you just to leave some final words of advice to encourage other women to get out into the hills and to have more adventures in their life. What advice would you give them?
I would say don't let anything stop you, even if you don't think that you're fit enough or don't think that it's for you. Just try a local hill, try a local walk. It doesn't even need to be a hill, actually. I would just say, get outside, because honestly, the difference, the positive difference that being outside in nature makes to your mental health is just amazing. And if you're any kind of sort of religious person, then I think just being out in the hills and the kind of filtered, untouched natural landscapes, it just makes you feel even more spiritual and connected to God. So there's so many benefits to be had from being outdoors that I think, you just need to find what the benefits are for you. And it doesn't need to be, like I said, it doesn't need to be big mountains or big hills. Just do what you think is right for you. But yeah, definitely get out there, because I think once people do get out there, they don't like to kind of give that up, because that is their time and just time for them to, just regroup.
Zahrah, thank you so much for coming on Tough Girl Podcast to share more about your passion for hill walking and for encouraging other women to get out there and to follow their passions.
Thank you for having me.
Tribe, I hope you enjoyed that episode with Zahrah. What an absolute inspiration. Now, everything that we have talked about today will be available in the show notes at toughgirlchallenges.com. Today's also a very special day, as it is the 5th year anniversary of the Tough Girl podcast. Yes, that's right. The Tough Girl podcast has been going for 5 years. We started on the 4th of August 2015, and here we are, the 4th of August 2020. We've got a number of bonus episodes coming out today, so I hope you enjoy those episodes. But I do just want to take a moment to thank the patrons and supporters of the Tough Girl podcast who make this all possible. So how I fund the running costs, how I fund the Tough Girl challenges, how I fund how I pay myself a wage is through the support of patrons. So patrons around the world who are supporting from $2, $5, $10, $20, $25 a month. It really does make such an incredible difference. And I just want to say a massive thank you to Lawrence Bonimer, A. Galbraith, Stephanie Langridge, Ellen Piercy, Eleanor Drake, MJ, Juliet Townsend, Kerry Flockhart, Natalie Moore, Selena McCall, Angela Walsh. Thank you so much for all of your incredible support. It means so much to me every single month when your donations come in. I honestly would not have been able to get to this point without your belief, without your support. And thank you to all of the patrons, everybody who's been signing up and supporting the Tough Girl podcast. Let me just ask you these questions. Have you been inspired by the Tough Girl podcast? Have you been motivated by the Tough Girl podcast? Has it changed your life for the better? If the answer is yes to those questions, then please consider paying it forward. Signing up as a patron is the number one thing that you can do for me. If you can go and visit Patreon, patreon.com/Tough Girl Podcast and sign up to pledge whatever it is that you can afford, whatever you believe the Tough Girl Podcast is worth, $2 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month. But I also totally understand that maybe you're not in a position to financially support at this point, and I totally get that. So what would be amazing, if you haven't done already, is if you could leave a 5-star review for the Tough Girl podcast on whichever podcast platform that you listen to. If you could tell one friend about the Tough Girl podcast, if you could share the Tough Girl podcast on your social media. I'm a one-woman show with my laptop and my mobile phone, hoping to make a difference in the world. And so I just want to say thank you for believing in me. Thank you for believing in the mission, the Tough Girl mission, to increase the amount of female role models in the media. I couldn't do it without you all. But wherever you are, whatever you are doing, give it 110%. I hope you've been inspired by the incredible women on the Tough Girl podcast, and that encourages you to go after your own dreams, to think big, to dream big, to take action, to go for it, to take those steps and to keep moving forward as you strive to achieve your big dreams and goals. Lots of love from me. I'll be back with you next Tuesday for another awesome episode of the Tough Girl podcast. And if you do want to sign up to Patreon, then please do go and visit Patreon, patreon.com/Tough Girl podcast.